Welcome to Jets Overtime, presented by Nissan. Eric Allen and Anthony Beck inside the BetMGM studios. The New York Jets fall to 2-8 on the season, 0-4 inside the AFC East with a tough 24-17 loss to the Miami Dolphins. The Jets were climbing the hill all day today. Never had a lead, and it was a tight game in that second half. In fact, 14-14 after an Elijah Moore score from 62 yards out. But then the Dolphins answered, and they scored the next 10, and the Jets never got to the top of that hill.
Yeah, less mistakes today were made by the Dolphins and the Jets. And critical errors obviously led to not scoring points. Several penalties on defense that really held this defense back on getting off the field on some critical third downs. You had some miscommunications as well. And then, special teams, 2 missed field goals. You had yourself in a position to make a field goal, you decided to punt that away, and of course the turnover, which, again, an assignment error on the backside of protection with the back row going to the right, who's got an open area. You have a critical mistake on the backside. Flacco feels like that's going to get protected, or at least the widest defender is going to come wide. He's going to have some time to make a play there. He doesn't. They fumble. So all those things come together, and even if it was a close game like you talked about, those are the deciding factors of the game. And again, it's youth. It's not always going to be youth too. It's about, in those moments, making sure that you correctly do what's asked. Don't hit the quarterback after he throws it. Don't bear hug the tight end, when he's coming at you in a route. Just play with good technique. If you do that and play smart, a lot of those things don't happen, Eric. But unfortunately, it cost the Jets today.
Let's bring in our other Eric, of course, that is Eric Coleman. After this game, Robert Sala said 90% of games in the National Football League are lost. We lost that game today. What are your thoughts?
I would have to agree with you. Yeah, you look at the penalties, the late hits, the miscommunications on the back end, that touchdown in the third quarter with the miscommunication between the safety and the corner. This is week 11, week 12. You can't have those mistakes. That's a basic route that you put in week 1, and there's no communication there. There's a free runner, wide open touchdown. There's different things in this game that continue to snake bite the Jets, and they beat themselves in this game. I can truly say that. I thought the effort was there. They put together some nice drives on defense. They had some good plays. But overall, those mistakes, when you continue to beat yourself, they're going to come back at the end of the game.
Anthony, let's get to Elijah Moore. 8 catches, 141 yards. That scoring connection with Joe Flacco where the Jets beat the blitz. This guy's an electrifying performer. 5 touchdowns now over the last 5 games. 3 receiving touchdowns. I think it's 4 receiving touchdowns in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, he's done an excellent job. The young man just goes out there and continues to make plays, high-pressure situations. You talked about the third down play. That was excellent by quarterback and receiver being on the same page. Really haven't worked together a ton. But we talked about in the pregame, Joe Flacco, find Elijah Moore. He's your guy. He knows it. Joe's watched him in practice. He's seen how he plays. He stands in there on third down, guns in that post route. Elijah Moore with great speed up the sideline as well. So the kid's really showing out. His statistics have been fantastic the last couple weeks. I called it again. He was going to have a touchdown this game, and he had it, so I feel good about that. But, look, you can't deny right now the rookie class is leading the charge for this football team offensively. For a guy, too, at the guard position in Vera Tucker, he doesn't get statistics, but clearly he's helping this team out at a high level.
What were your expectations for this defense? We know they'd struggled mightily the previous 4 games, giving up 43 points a game and more than 400 yards. Miami was held to 24 points. The Jets had 3 new starters in the lineup defensively. Quincy Williams inserted back in the lineup, and then they had a couple new starters in the secondary. Isaiah Dunn got to start on the outside, and then Riley got to start at the safety position alongside Ashton Davis.
Yeah, I thought the defense played well. I thought the defensive line was fired up, which we were hoping. We were hoping they came out, with everything they've been through the last couple of weeks. We want them to light a fire. Quincy Williams, I think putting him in the lineup, really just gives a burst of energy. He's flying around. Every time you look at the ball on the ground, the tackler on the ground, you see 56 getting up, and that's great to see him show up on film every single play. And then on the back end, I thought those guys did an excellent job of communicating, making open field tackles. There was the one play with that touchdown, but other than that miscommunication, there weren't a lot of big plays that were happening on this defense.
All right, so we're going to have to find out about the status of rookie running back Michael Carter, who exited
Anthony,
this game.
we always talk about the importance of
But he had 9 runs today for 63 yards, and he continues to impress out of the offensive backfield.
Importance of an explosive play, taking a shot after a takeaway. Here the Jets get an explosive play on the ground, not in the pass game.
Yeah, it's an outside zone play, and there really is an art form to this. This is what Mike LaFleur and John Benton, the offensive line coach, brought from San Francisco, and this takes a lot of work, and this is where the hard work comes in. The first thing they want to do, if you look on the right side, they're going to bring Griffin in motion to get that safety outside of the box. Now you have these 5 defenders, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that have to get blocked by these 5 offensive linemen. They're all going to reach across, and the key to this is that they get to the outside shoulders of each of those defenders, and of course, Fant has to be explosive in coming off the outside. So as we look at this, we see them come off. We want to pause it right here. Now, we have an unblocked defender on the backside, which is Agba. He has to slide shuffle this because his responsibility is if this quarterback were to pull it, now we know Flacco's not going to pull it, but he has to honor it. That's going to slow him down just a little bit. And what that does is it allows him to be out of the play. Now, on the front side, look at how this is all blocked up, okay? You got this great block on the outside, hooking on the outside shoulder, hooking the outside shoulder. You got the center, the guard, and the backside tackle. Everything is there. And then what you have now is that you got your back who has to press this to hold the outside defender so that he can get through that window. And if you watch this play out, watch how this gets blocked up perfectly. And again, once Michael Carter gets through, there is one remaining blocker. That's Keelan Cole right there doing his job. You got to love receivers blocking on the outside. And, of course, bam, you get a beautiful run, breaking tackles all the way down, just misses the goal line to get that touchdown. But, again, outside zone play for this team, that's the number 1 run for the Jets offense, and that's his purest form right there as we broke it down.
That's a career-high rush from Michael Carter, 39 yards, and it all in that first half, 8 carries for 61 yards.
Hell of a job right there by Anthony on the telestration. There are today's game numbers, very equal in terms of the yardage gain. The big discrepancy, though, inside the red zone. The Jets just 1 of 4 inside the red zone. They also missed a pair of field goals. Conversely, the Miami Dolphins 2 of 4 in the red zone. Joe Flacco made his first start this season for the New York Jets, completed 24-39 for 291 yards with 2 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. The voice of the Jets, Bob Wischusen, talked to Joe after the game.
Joe, welcome back, I guess, to a certain extent. How'd you feel out there? Comfortable?
Oh, yeah, I definitely felt comfortable. I mean, there were some few things here and there. I mean, as a team, I thought we just, we made a few too many mistakes today to kind of get it done. But, yeah, I mean, once you get out there and you run a few plays, I've played long enough that you get right back in your comfort zone.
How about the timeouts that you guys had to spend in the third quarter? What happened there? Is that just communication kind of being new with this group?
It was really just some personnel issues. We're calling some stuff there and just didn't have the right guys to do it on the field. And then all of a sudden the clock gets away from us and, we can't run the play the way we had it. So.
How about the promise that you see with some of the young, skilled players with this group? I mean, obviously, this is a growth year and a rebuilding year for this team. They have a lot of youth on both sides of the football. But hopefully Michael Carter's healthy, get a chance to play with Elijah Moore. What are your impressions now that you're back with this team about some of the young guys they've got?
I think they're really good players, and I think they got really good attitudes. I think they got a really, they both of those guys in specific, specifically have good heads on their shoulders. They look like they're ready to learn. They want to get better. So the next step, in kind of developing those guys is getting the point where we're getting some wins so that they can get some confidence and continue to build on what they've done.
If you say, final question, the next step for this team, maybe expand it to team-wide, what would the next step for this group be?
Well, I think it's a cliche thing to talk about how much you beat yourself, week in and week out. But, after being in there this week and seeing just the few mistakes that we've made, it's getting over the hump with that kind of stuff so that we can get out of our own way and just worry about the opponent. I think the amount of mistakes that happen in the game with us right now is really making it hard for us to get things done and crawl out of a little hole. Today we moved the ball across midfield, and then as soon as we get over there, a couple things would bite us in the butt. And I think if we can do that, if we can really focus in on just making less mistakes, then, the game will come to us a little bit more.
Joe, thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're watching Jets Overtime presented by Nissan. Eric Allen alongside Anthony Beck inside the BetMGM studio. There is a reason why they call him Cool Joe. Flacco makes his first start for the Jets today this season, becoming the third signal caller to start for the Jets in 10 games so far this season. Throws for 291, 0 interceptions. When he discusses personnel issues with the timeouts, what is he saying there?
Basically the OC is going to call a particular play. There's a formation that's tagged to it. There's a personnel group that's tagged to it. And now it's the responsibility of the coach who's on the field to echo that personnel to those players on the sideline to get them on the field. Now, once that happens and the players come on the sideline, they got to echo to the players that are on the field that have to come off. They got to be in sync as well, communication. So where to pinpoint exactly where the error was, those are the three options. Coach bringing it down to the personnel. The coach on the field brings the personnel into the field, and then the players on the field bring the personnel out that they're exchanging for. At some point there, they got it a little jostled up, and of course that obviously is going to cause the timeout situation in those scenarios.
So what did you make of Flacco overall today? The only thing, as we bring back Eric, the only thing where you look at and say, wow, you wish you could have had that play back when I'm watching Joe, was that blitz where obviously a guy picked up the wrong incoming rusher because you're at second and goal at the 5-yard line. You come away with no points, E.
Yeah, listen, I thought Joe did a great job overall managing the game, making throws down the field, calling out the different coverages. There was a skinny post in the slot that he just threw it a little bit behind. I think Xavier Howard came through and knocked it down. But if he would have thrown that in front of him, that would have been a great play for the Jets and kept the drive going. But, I can't really nitpick. I think that he overall had a great game, especially for stepping in his first start of the season. He moved the ball well. He showed control of the offense and didn't really make too many mistakes. He got hit from the blind side where he wasn't expecting down in the red zone. But, you can't really fault him for that.
Anthony, we'll get to this here in our final thoughts, but Zach Wilson went through an extensive pregame workout for the second consecutive Sunday. This was his fourth game he has missed. He was wearing that knee brace. Do you anticipate there's a good shot that he'll be back in the lineup against the Texans?
Yeah, just how they've assessed the injury in general and told everyone how they were going to be, there was probably a slight chance you thought maybe last week that Zach would be out in the field. The fact that he wasn't out this week, they get that extra week. So, look, if everything's good and he feels nothing, there's no pain, the strength is there, he'll be your starter on the road versus the Texans. If not, then it'll be the same scenario. Joe will come in and play. So I'm excited to see him come back. I hope that he's there. I feel like he's super close, having those extensive work days on the last 2 Sundays. And, of course, now they'll able to do another hard workout on Monday. Tuesday they can evaluate it. By Wednesday they'll know, is he the guy that's going to be practicing? Because, of course, the game plan's going in. Zach's going to do different things than Flacco is on the football field as far as movement and things of that sort. So they got to know. So it'll happen tomorrow off a workout and how they'll get things started into the week for preparation for the Texans.
The final today was the Miami Dolphins 24, the New York Jets 17. Let's go back to MetLife Stadium and check in with Ethan Greenberg.
Thanks, EA. Let's start on the offensive side of the ball with some lineup changes. Let's go to right guard, where Laurent Duvernay-Tardif started for Greg Van Roten for the first time this season. He was a member of the green and white as a starter. And then on the defensive side of the ball, safety Elijah Riley started. Isaiah Dunn on the outside with Brandon Eccles on injured reserve. And then lastly, Quincy Williams at linebacker back in the starting lineup. He led the team with 15 tackles, and I spoke with him after the game. He said this game came down to explosives. The green and white defense always tries to limit the explosive plays. Well, two of them stand out to me. Mike Gesicki's second catch of the game. It was the second play from the Dolphins offense, 26-yard gain up the sideline, and then the backbreaker in this game, Mac Hollins, a 65-yard touchdown score, and that was the touchdown that put the Dolphins up by a score, and then the Jets would respond, and then ultimately the Dolphins won 24-17 here at MetLife Stadium. EA, back to you.
Thanks, Greens. You are watching Jets Overtime presented by Nissan. Anthony, I don't want to work you up too much, but here are today's rush attempts. Miami, 33 carries, 115 yards for an average of 3.5. The New York Jets, 18 carries for 102 yards. They averaged 5.7 yards a clip, and they had a 39-yard run from Michael Carter. But for your money, you got to get those attempts up.
Yeah, look, this is a league-wide thing. I look at it every week. The teams that have not rushed for at least 20 touches throughout the game. Now, there's some teams that had gotten to that and still lost, but if you didn't get to that, you lose the football game. Now, is that going to be the biggest difference in this game? Who knows? I mean, you were down 7 points. You get the ball back, 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. First down comes along. Again, you start with a pass. That's fine, but it's incomplete. Now you're 2nd and 10. Now the runs are out unless you convert on a pass for first down, and they didn't. It was a 3-and-out situation, and, of course, the Dolphins score again. Now the run game's done for the fourth quarter. So, look, I know Michael Carter was not in the football game later on in the game. You do have some other backs that, could do a good job with Coleman, of course, Ty Johnson. But, again, I just think it's a big picture thing league-wide. If you just go across all the teams that lost, for sure, most of the teams that didn't get to 20, I would say 100%, because I haven't found one yet that had less than 20 touches are going to lose the game. So it's just a big deal. It doesn't matter how many yards it's for or the average yards for it. It's just about just keeping it honest, keeping the defense where and it opens up a couple extra passing opportunities that they may have had in this game.
Joe Douglas has some big hits out of that 2021 draft. We talked about Elijah Moore's production today. He was electrifying. Michael Carter had to exit this game, though, with the ankle injury. 9 carries in all for 63 yards. How big of a blow would it be for the Jets as they're in the middle of this youth movement right now, and this kid continues to produce each week if he had to miss an extended amount of time?
Yeah, it would be a big blow if they were to lose Michael Carter for an extended period of time. He's one of those backs where he's shifty. You saw in the long run where, he's able to read the offensive line, read the blocks, set them up, and explode through the hole. And it's hard for a defensive back with a shorter guy who can run like that to come track him and make those plays. But he does well in the run game. He does well in the pass game. Just really does a great job overall for this team, and just a big playmaker, just like Elijah Moore, a guy you can throw a quick slant to. He can turn it into a big play. Michael Carter is the same kind of player. I love these young players that Joe Douglas drafted. They're making a big impact.
Anthony, how do you think the Jets fared overall against that Dolphins blitz that we talked a lot about during the pregame show? And in fact, we talked a lot about that the week leading up to the game. Sacked just 2 times, the big strip sack down there by the goal line. But how do you think they fared against that blitz today?
I thought the third down package for the Jets offense was phenomenal today. Joe Flacco was 50% on third down, 7 for 14, I believe it was. He had that huge touchdown play, that pass to Elijah Moore on 3rd and 8. They didn't bring everybody every time, but they showed exactly what they showed against the Ravens and every other team that they played on third down. And there was a plan in place. Joe looked comfortable. And the plays were there for him to get an outlet to a receiver. There was a quick out. There was a hookup play. Whatever it was, they had something. And then, of course, he did take a couple chances on some third downs in the middle of the field where they weren't able to convert, where he was trying to take that chance, hold that ball for that extra second longer to get the play down the field. But that play to Elijah Moore was kind of phenomenal, kind of maybe as a launching pad for Elijah Moore here, as he's done great things. As far as splash plays now, that's one of them. Hopefully there's more of those to come here the next few weeks of the season.
Defensively, you just continue to juggle with that lineup. how difficult is it for this coaching staff at this point? They're not making excuses, and you're playing with a lot of young guys, and we know the situation. But when you look at that secondary today, Isaiah Dunn's making his first career start. Elijah Riley just joined the Jets. He started at the safety position. I mean, that defensive backfield is awfully green. And then we saw that change at the linebacker position. Jared Davis doesn't have his feet underneath him yet after returning from injury. And Quincy Williams, he was great today. But just talk about what the secondary is facing right now and maybe some of the communication lapses that you saw out there.
Well, listen, these coaches have to do one heck of a job coaching up all these young guys. You talk about players not ever starting, guys just joining the team, going in and playing big minutes, having big roles in this defense. The coaches have to do a heck of a job. There has to be a ton of communication across the board. And it's a big challenge because you're relying on guys like Marcus May to be able to be out there and lead this group. You're relying on some of your strong players to do that, and a lot of them are hurt. So it's a big challenge overall, but I think they're doing a great job of coaching these guys up. Yes, you had the miscommunication on the big play. Yes, there are some plays that you want to have back, but overall, these guys are all on the same page. They're competing for balls. They only gave up 24 points, and there were some other opportunities for them to make some big plays. So, I thought today was a great bounce back game for that defense after the last couple of weeks giving up all the points. I thought they did a great job of playing together as one unit, and it's only going to get better as they continue to play and get experience with one another.
Quincy Williams, 15 tackles for the New York Jets today, and Ethan Greenberg talked to him after the game.
Linebacker Quincy Williams. Quincy, obviously not the result you wanted, but what did you take out of this game defensively?
The main thing we wanted to come to the game was limit explosive. The last couple of weeks we had a lot of explosives, and explosive win games on offense, also lose your game if you get them on defense. So that's the main thing. The biggest thing we took for with close games like that is all about who makes the most mistakes. So on defense, just staying consistent. On offense, staying consistent also. But for us defense, it's not making a splash play here. We get a loss here, and all of a sudden we have a holding call on. Defensive holding call on the backfield. So the main thing is just not beating ourselves. And in this game, with it being so close, we beat ourselves.
Obviously, you had a good game, 15 tackles. How do you feel like you played today?
The main thing was my teammates around me. My brother's on the defensive line, so I got to always shout out the defensive line, them keeping me clean and all that kind of stuff, and let me use my superpower, run sideline to sideline. Same for CJ, as long as they keep us clean, we run sideline to sideline. The huge thing was the communication on defense, making sure we bark out orders, everybody's on the same page. That's the real thing, and that's how we play defense, real defense.
What was the message from Coach Sala and some of the veteran players in the locker room after this loss?
After the loss, the main thing was, first thing we came in and said we beat ourselves, and we understand that as far as like being consistent. So we'll make a splash play here, we'll get a defensive stop, defensive third down stop, and all of a sudden we got a holding call on the back end. So now it's just being consistent. Can we get 3 and out every time? No penalties, subbing, all that kind of stuff on offense. Can we have an explosive once a drive or something like that? And it's just really being consistent. That's the main thing, and not beating ourselves in close games.
So obviously a lot of days left before you guys hit the field again in Houston, but what's kind of this might sound like a silly question, you seem to be kind of upbeat for a loss in a way where it's like that you beat yourselves. Is that almost like in a good way, knowing that you're talented enough, now it's just on you?
Yeah, the main thing was our communication was good. Now it's just like the little techniques and stuff like that, like you being yourself. And I'm not even pointing out any actual person, but as a defense, it's more like, what can we do to get better right here? And we did get a loss, but it's more like the positives from last couple of weeks, just saying like we can play tighter defense. We went through a whole week of preparation. It was great. So the main thing is just like, hey, let's keep it rolling now. Now we know what we can do. We're a good defense. We're a good offense. Now can we be consistent now? Like we know what we're doing now. Can we be consistent on what we're doing and make splash play here, splash play there? Now can we continue to do it?
Awesome, Quincy. Appreciate the time. Thank you.
No problem.
You are watching Jets Overtime, presented by Nissan. Eric Allen, and Anthony back inside the BetMGM studio, joined as always by Eric Coleman. We just heard from Quincy Williams, who was all over the place. I'm not going to argue with him, fellas. He does have a superpower going sideline to sideline. He was all over the place today, E.
Yeah, man, attitude and effort. I love seeing that out of Quincy. He has great eyes. They take him to the ball, and once he diagnoses where the play is, it's full tilt, and he's not stopping until he hits something. And those are the kind of guys you love to see on the field. But, what he was talking about there was something that Donnie Henderson used to tell us. It was know and do your job. On defense, know your job, execute the technique within it. And if everybody's on the same page doing their job, the big plays are going to come. The splash plays are going to come. And if you're giving that effort, someone's going to poke that ball out. You're going to be right in a great position to make the play. So it's all about attitude and effort. They just have to keep going, continue to not beat themselves, continue to grow, mature, and that will come with experience.
Anthony, the next step for the defense, who took a couple strides today, is they got to come out and make that key stop. And in this game, you tie it up at 14-14. Let me go over a couple plays here late in the third into the fourth quarter. Miami has a 2nd and 13. Then they get Gaskin for 6 yards, followed by to Jalen Waddle for 8 yards on a 3rd and 7. You have to get off the field on 3rd down. Then we move into the fourth quarter. They convert on a 3rd and 1, and here's a killer penalty. You're 3rd and 4 from the Jets' 5. Tua's pressured, throws incomplete to Gaskin, but John Franklin Myers roughing the passer penalty. As opposed to 17-14, you're getting the ball back. It's 21-14. Changes the whole dynamic of the game. There are a few plays there where the Jets just got to step up and get off the field.
Yeah, I mean, I think, when you're talking about players, those situations, you just have to be smarter. They're already from behind with the young players, right? And then the different starting lineups. So whatever's out there playing, okay, in particular a guy like JFM who knows better, right? And we talked about him in the pregame being the guy now. He's got his money, he's out there. You expect better decisions. It happens across the league every week. You see players cost their teams in certain situations. And, Coach Sala said it was inexcusable. It is. I mean, it's just the fact that it was so late, too, because the ball was out of his hand. It was like a long 1.5 count, and he decides to push him. Like in that scenario, why? You're forcing a field goal. And like you said, it's going to be 17-14, and you're going to get the ball back with 10 minutes, and there's a whole bunch of things you can do offensively in that scenario. So, look, it's a learning experience. Same with Pinnock, a young player. Understanding the situation and the technique. We see it everywhere around the league, but young players have to, learn from those mistakes. Hopefully moving forward for Pinnock, it doesn't happen anymore, and he understands the gravity of those deals. But for a guy like JFM, he knows better in that situation, and, he's gonna bite the bullet on that one. But in that moment, man, you can't have that happen. And those are the things you're talking about that, that add on to losing games when they're close like this.
Growing pains are tough, man. That's part of this, and Jets fans are enduring it. You got the highs. You see some glimpses of some steps forward. Sometimes you have a step forward and then 2 steps back. Anthony just alluded to the Pinnock penalty. That's another crusher. It's 21-14. Quincy Williams comes up with the sack. There's about 5.5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Instead of getting off the field and getting Flacco the ball back and maybe having some Elijah Moore magic, they're able to sustain a drive that leads to points. And by that time, that's just a crusher. They go up 10.
Yeah, I mean, listen, everyone can't take turns making mistakes. You have to learn from your teammates. You have to learn from past mistakes and try to continue to get better and get through the down, play within your technique, play with good feet. When you have bad feet, it usually leads to a hold. It usually leads to a pass interference, something negative when you don't have your feet and your eyes in the right spot. So, especially at those crucial points in the game, you have to lock in, you have to focus on the key fundamentals and get through the down. It's too many times you hear it. We beat ourselves. We beat ourselves. If we wouldn't have had that penalty, we would have been in a better position. At some point in time, everyone has to start taking accountability for themselves because coaches don't coach that. That's playing. That's guys out there making decisions while they're out in the field. You have to make those decisions that I'm going to make the right play. I'm going to play within my technique, play within the scheme, and you get out of the down, you'll end up winning some games and things turn around for you. But young players sometimes have to go through these times, and you have to sit with it for a while and never make the mistake again. Can't repeat mistakes.
Final thoughts from you, E. The Jets take their show on the road next week. They're still looking for that first road victory of the year. And while people pointed to this game as one of the ones the Jets could win down the stretch, anything can happen in the National Football League. Houston just went to Tennessee and beat up the Titans, intercepting Ryan Tannehill 4 times. So if this is indeed Zach Wilson's return to the lineup, this will be no cup of tea, this Texans team.
Absolutely. Listen, Tyrod Taylor is a very capable quarterback, but at the end of the day, it's going to be what the Jets do. The Jets control their own destiny. Whoever's at the quarterback position, as long as they don't make mistakes, the offensive line, everybody just do your job. Play within the scheme of the of the coaching, and you'll come out with wins. You watch teams like, and I hate to say it, but you watch teams like New England. You watch teams like today with the Dolphins. They're not beating themselves, and when they don't beat themselves, they come out successful. When the Jets come out with a clean game, they play great all 3 phases. Everybody does their role. They're not missing field goals. They're not hitting the quarterback late. The quarterback's making great decisions. You start to see wins, and if the Jets can just continue to chop wood, continue to get better every week, things are going to turn around here.
Good stuff, E. We will catch you next week. Anthony, is there a lesson to be had here from the opponent today? Miami left for dead a couple weeks ago, and now they're on a 3-game win streak.
Yeah, the little things matter. And that's something you have to make a great impression on these players, especially young players. You have to overcoach it. You have to point it out several times till it gets stale, till they're almost to the point where they know I'm never going to do that again. And even that doesn't guarantee you the perfect opportunity when it comes up again. So I think this team, if you look at the schedule, the 5 games that are coming up here before Tampa Bay, you have a chance to go out there, play some good football, play smart football, and be in every one of those games. The difference between being in them and winning in them will be obviously those small details, those little circumstances, those 2 or 3 plays that are going to come up in a football game that you're going to have to decide. Is this the right thing to do in this moment? That's why they pay you the money, right? To make those split-second decisions. It's not just the quarterback getting the ball out of his hands in certain scenarios to find the open receiver. It's about everybody's decision-making when their number is called in that particular play, whether it's offense, defense, and special teams. I think that special teams is a big deal too. Got to make your kicks, period. That's across the league. We see kickers all the time. They get in funks. Well, kickers haven't necessarily been here a long time to have some of that grace period. You have to come in and you have to make those plays and make those points. It would have made a huge difference in this game and this outcome because it changes the way and the scenarios and the way you do things throughout 4 quarters of football. So it puts you in a bit of a bind. So that has to be addressed as well. So, look, I'm totally anticipating Zach Wilson being on the field. I think, I don't know his health. I just know that what the doctors have said, the coaches have talked about, this may be the week where he comes back on. And if it is, let's go. Let it rip because he's supposed to be 100%. Let him go play ball. And hopefully Zach has learned and watched a lot of things. There's a lot of information that he can grab from the last, 4 games that he's missed that are there on film, in the games, on the sidelines, all that stuff he needs to collect in his notebook, and hopefully those things help him moving forward to finish the season.
Yeah, Flacco was good today. 291 yards, 2 touchdowns. Elijah Moore is a stud. There should be a lot of number 8 jerseys at MetLife Stadium because this kid is a keeper. He's going to make a ton of plays in the National Football League. 8 catches, 141 yards, and 1 score. Michael Carter, you're hoping you get good news on the ankle because he's been so good of late, and he was off to a great game today, 9 carries for 63 yards. And finally, let's give it up for Quincy Williams. He did not sulk after being taken out of the starting lineup. Instead, he came back, 15 tackles against Miami today. So a lot of positives, even in the loss. The young Jets are 2-8 on the season, but they'll be back at it next week against the Texans. For Eric Coleman, Ethan Greenberg, and of course my buddy Anthony Becht, we're signing off.